Depression can be crippling. It saps your energy while telling you that you're ruining your life. Worse, it tells you that you're ruining the lives of the people you love too. Being alive becomes a worse chore than the ones piling up at home. After 18 months of this torture, Heather B. Armstrong was looked less than human. Her psychiatrist, Dr. Bushnell, offered her a radical treatment to ease her suffering and help her cope. Dr. Bushnell and his colleagues were researching a new cure for depression, and Heather was the ideal candidate. This unique form of treatment required Heather to die 10 times over, but only temporarily. By using an anesthetic called propofol, Heather would be put under a deep, induced coma. During this time, brain activity would be suppressed to near brain death. This concept is like turning a computer on and off again. In the end, Heather agreed to the treatment. Unsurprisingly, Heather's first session of her radical treatment for depression was terrifying. After all, she would essentially have to die. Before she arrived at the hospital, she had been instructed to fast for 20 hours. Her difficulties didn't end there. The needle to be used to inject the anesthetic was huge, and it took a lot of struggling to get into her vein. After this painful ordeal, her brain activity was reduced to nearly nothing. As she slowly slipped into the coma, she experienced horrifying hallucinations caused by fentanyl. The fentanyl was meant to prevent headaches upon waking, but it didn't work. Worse, she was one of 4% of people who experienced delusions caused by the drug. Depression comes in episodes, but often it's an intermittent but lifelong struggle. But where does this condition stem from? For some people, it has deep roots stretching way back into childhood. This was the case for Heather too. At age 8, she was shoved against a wall and screamed at that she needed to learn to speak to adults with more respect. All she had done at that time was say what instead of yes, ma'am to her mother. Other instances solidified a crippling fear in her. This fear urged her to excel, to be perfect, and manifested as stress and anxiety that led her to expect the worst-case scenario to come true. In the end, it plunged her into such deep depression that she would need to die 10 times before she could move on. When you're depressed, even doing the easiest tasks seem like a hike up Mount Everest. You struggle to do things you found easy before and care less about issues surrounding your life and beyond it. After her third session of this radical treatment of simulating death, she noticed a small change in her life. That morning, she had put on makeup. This came after 18 months of not caring about her appearance. It was good news. After her 5th session, she felt energetic. Instead of the fatigue and lethargy of before, she could now feel motivated to do things. Heather even reached out to a friend and went out and socialized. As she went for these treatments, she realized that she was slowly but surely getting better. Depression can be a lonely battle, especially if you have people around you who do not believe in mental health issues. Heather's father was one such person. Although her mother and stepfather supported her in her struggles with depression, her father was a pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps kind of guy. However, even though he didn't say anything outright, it didn't mean that he didn't support Heather in the end. As her mother told her, he had spent the hour before Heather woke up at one of her sessions gently stroking her forehead. After her radical treatment for therapy, Heather has a new lease on life. She doesn't want to be dead anymore. Better, she is optimistic and improving in all other aspects of her life, from caring for her children to spreading more awareness about mental health issues. Although she credits the treatment for her recovery, the treatment's lead researcher, Dr. Mickey, believes that she would have eventually worked through her problems on her own. Thus, the treatment might not be a conclusive one, but Heather certainly went through it and found herself better.